Pain and awareness of the dead end that we've reached helps us create our desire for change. Two distinct, or should I say the distinct differences that define addiction versus recovery would be pain versus desire. Don't necessarily think if a person had to think back in their recovery steps, if you had to ask them what were the exact moments of change for you, they may be able to highlight something, but I don't necessarily think it's something they just willed into action and all of a sudden began to change and were changed as people. I think the exact change is from the decision and the desire to surrender, the desire to establish a spiritual relationship with God, the desire to establish the spiritual relationship with your higher power, and then making the action in doing so to surrender. Because it's about the desire and the desperation that define recovery. As long as we are looking, listening, and trying, we'll continuously find ways to grow. So surrender to an all-loving and caring higher power becomes easier as time goes on or as time progresses. It is finding a new way to believe in God that helps us go beyond what we knew before. So what am I surrendering to? When I'm saying yes, what am I saying no to? And when I'm saying no, what am I saying yes to? What am I surrendering to? Spirituality, a sense of being connected with one another, a sense of being connected to something greater than yourself. So recovery involves the ability to manage certain degree of personal power. By establishing and maintaining a conscious contact with a higher power, we can subjugate our ego. So how do we surrender and what do we do? What do we do to be able to do this step? And one of the things I like to say very often is, what am I surrendering to as a person? So the minute we think that we no longer need divine intervention, we no longer need a spiritual relationship, we no longer need a spiritual power that starts to flow in all areas of our lives, that is the moment when we begin to relapse. I found this for myself specifically. We get to a place where we can become stagnant, and we don't necessarily want that deep intimate connection with God. So how did we start this? We spoke about desire. And I think over time for myself as well, that desire began to subside dramatically. desire for change is the desire for God, the desire for a new life, the desire for spirituality, the desire for surrender, the desire that I know that I'm surrendering to recovery, because recovery is my lifestyle. Recovery is not my religion. Recovery is freedom. Recovery is fulfillment. Recovery is joy. Recovery is taking one day at a time and being grateful and writing a list of my things that I'm grateful for. Never losing that desperation and hope. No matter how long we've been clean. So as we become more familiar with our higher power, we begin to realize the magnitude of the Spirit. We move outward to connect with that energy. We can decide to turn our will and life over to the care of God, yet we feel powerless to make God take it. It is the depth of our sincerity and willingness that enables us to accept this. Remember, there are certain things we can control and certain things we cannot control. We can only control our response to, but we can't control that which is outside of us. The decision that we make to turn our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him makes that release, or releases that tension that we hoarded in our futile efforts to maintain control, that illusion, that back and forth thinking, what I can, what I can't, what I can, what I can't. So what I want you to do today is to focus on surrender and change. Surrender and change. Because that desire, that desperation in your life of making that decision is very, very important. I like the Celebrate Recovery Step 3 definition, and it's the same as Narcotics Anonymous, but they just have a spiritual a scripture there as well. So Step 3, we made a decision to turn our lives and our wills over to the care of God. What is that? What is our lives and our wills over to the care of God? Means that what I was doing was not working. Means step 1, I can't. Step 2, He can. So step 3 is so let Him. So our decision to turn our lives and wills over to the care of God is not a decision that is once off. Last time I checked, we are human beings. So yes, we have flaws and certain proclivities we need to work through. And in our case, we had excessive proclivities. So therefore I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. What is spiritual? Spiritual is relationship. Spiritual is not religion. It's your spiritual act of worship to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. By keeping in mind what? God's mercy. This is not a religious thing, right? So, I mean, we don't, like, you don't go and literally offer your body as a sacrifice in terms of like a religious ceremony type of thing where, you know, half of us would have no limbs, would be like hopping around over here because we decided an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and hey, while you're at it, take my left hand. So your spiritual act of worship, we made a decision to turn our lives and wills over to the care of God. We know that we struggle. Sometimes we go back and forth and back and forth, and we doubt and we question and we're trying to understand. We're curious. Make that decision on a daily basis Sometimes, several times a day, we make that decision to surrender. There is no such word in the recovery context as surrendered. We are surrendering on a daily basis. We need to connect with our meetings. We need to connect with our peers. We need to connect. Now, not to connect to go and help other people. First, we need to fix ourselves, but we can't fix ourselves. We can choose to surrender and let that relationship and that healing come, that healing from pain, which drove and defined addiction. That relationship in all aspects of my recovery. Sometimes I need to surrender to a boss, for example, because now I need to learn to live life on life's terms. Sometimes I need to, well, most of the time I need to surrender to my sponsor. What's my sponsor saying? What's the group saying? What's my recovery saying? What's God saying? And surrender comes with sacrifice. So you may feel that you sacrifice everything, and that's okay, because even though you've sacrificed everything, you gain everything. So our first experience with any kind of power greater than ourselves have been in a meeting. We recall when we suddenly felt that what happened before in our lives might not apply to us any longer. This might not have been a conscious thought in our minds. We may have only sensed a curiosity and, amazingly, found ourselves able to listen to others in a way that was different for us. So naturally this relationship, naturally this curiosity, naturally this engagement starts to naturally change us as people, as recovering addicts. Our newly found identities appear to give us strength, when in actuality it only reduces that power that we've been putting into keeping our walls up. So as our trust grows and we start to experience God's care, the inner walls of fear crumble. We decide to free ourselves from our pain of control and the misery of being our own prisoner, locked in by our fears and disbelief. So we survive our emotions, because remember, emotionally driven is nothing that's uncommon to people, the human way, the human nature. We begin to understand those emotions, we begin to surrender, we begin to act rationally, we begin to act based on advice given. We recognize our part in the situation, we own, we take ownership. We talk about that and act on advice given by sponsors, by a group, by God. Begin to let the emotion function as part of a personal guidance system. Active addiction made this all but impossible. So as we begin to explore our new life, gain the ability to trust our feelings and emotions because they are a functional part of reality. So we listen to our gut, but we're not driven by emotion. We simply use it as a function. And sometimes that function is understanding that things are sometimes hard and I need to sacrifice, and understanding that in the greater picture of things, that which I'm sacrificing, there is a promise behind, and that promise will always be fulfilled. So behind our current feelings, there's never anything that's necessarily going to come through, but behind each and every single principle there is in recovery, there's always a promise. Not sometimes, not only to one person or two people, but to everyone. Feelings, nothing. principles, promises. And that's God's promise for you to have a life in abundance, a life of joy. But there's certain things we have to do. It's not to, now God's going to like us better if we become better. No, He loves us either way. But for ourselves, He's given us a mind, He's given us a journey, and we need to take responsibility for that. So if it's difficult for you today, remember the serenity prayer. God, give me the courage to change things I can. Okay? Let me change the things I can. Let me accept that which I cannot change. Just give me the wisdom to distinguish the difference. I accept that I'm a recovering addict. Accept that my life is in shambles. I accept that I want to be different. Help me to always have that desire of hope, that flame of hope that keeps igniting, that keeps sustainable throughout my recovery process, so that I don't become complacent. Remember, we can't have control because we simply never had control in the first place. Thought we did. We will have ways forward with a positive higher power that we never had with our personal limitation. About relying on, absolutely being desperate on, absolutely being abound to, absolutely being addicted to, absolutely being fulfilled by. That void which is within each and every single one of us at some point in our lives, that void was there designed to be filled by your higher power. And we tried everything. Women, drugs, money, gambling, hustling. We tried these things to fill that, but it only temporarily fills that, and sometimes it just feels that hole keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Now when we practice the step in all our affairs, really, we start to feel fulfilled, and we're not left in a place of wanting, but we're left in a place of content. We're just content, and not necessarily content, but sometimes that place of fulfillment just drives that desire and desperation to keep moving forward. Remember, our addiction had smothered our sense so much that we could not care for ourselves in a healthy way. The decision we make here, as I mentioned before, releases the tension. I'll end off with that scripture again. Therefore, I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. And another ending of holy and pleasing. Holy, what holy? Whole. Spiritual act. Relational act. Relationship. Relationship with who? Relationship with God. Relationship in surrendering. Living sacrifices, surrendering to your recovery. Your being, your will, your lives, your bodies as living sacrifices in light of what? Keeping in light of remembering what? In view of God's mercy. Not because we deserve it. Thank you.